Welcome back to the channel. RacerX here, and today I want to put a short video together really in reaction to an article that just came out from Carbuzz.com. Yes, our friends at Carbuzz have done it again. Many of you guys sent this thing over to me on Instagram, and basically it's talking about a new power plant that Dodge is proposing called the Hydra. Is there any truth to the hype? Well, I will give you my thoughts on it. It should be a fun one. Also, guys, if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button for me. Only 21% of you guys are actually subscribed, and we are off.
T-minus 15 seconds.
So yeah, many of you guys have been asking me to sort of weigh in on this article from Carbuzz. And really the first thing that I want to touch on is the fact that this came out on April Fool's Day. And these guys are a little bit notorious for putting out stuff that may not necessarily be true or kind of stirs up the rumor mill. Now, they do make some very interesting points in this particular article. I will put a link to it down in the description if you want to check it out. But essentially, this is about a 800 plus horsepower, essentially a Hellcat engine that's run on liquid hydrogen. And it's very kind of interesting to think about now. They do also talk in the article about the fact that this is not really the first company to look at doing this. Ford actually kind of just put out some stuff about the fact that they're trying to work on a patent that has to do with liquid hydrogen technology. And instead of running on, obviously on gasoline, you're talking about a much cleaner burning fuel in liquid hydrogen. So yeah, is Dodge going to explore this option called the Hydra? Couple interesting points to think about here. So I wrote down a couple of things sort of in my notes after reading the article. Really, the first point I want to make is the fact that they had the director of muscle car development. I guess he made a comment in there. And first of all, how cool would that job be? Director of muscle car development, right? So anyway, a guy's got a cool job, but he basically says the Hydra name essentially means that the EPA is cutting off the ICE or the internal combustion head of the muscle car snake, so to speak. But instead of having one head grow back, it's going to grow two, which essentially is the mythological creature known as the Hydra. And you can see it in the thumbnail, the actual little emblem there for the Hydra, the logo there. It actually is pretty darn cool, but it doesn't really fit in with their whole like Hellcat demon type theme, but definitely mythological and kind of a cool thing to think about. But basically what he's saying is he feels like a muscle car is not really a muscle car without internal combustion to some degree. So they have not really figured out if the lawmakers are going to like this idea. You know, they talk about it in the article. I mean, will the lawmakers kind of balk at the fact that, look, you guys are still doing internal combustion, regardless of the fact that it runs on a cleaner fuel? It's still internal combustion. Maybe they really need to weigh out exactly what these emissions are going to look like. There's still a lot of work to be done, but they do say in the article that they think this thing could potentially come out late 2023. But in my mind, that means that we would see a concept of this like later this year, in my mind. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those really weird things. Is this really true? Now, another point of emphasis of the article, they talk about the fact that the Hellcat engine really didn't have to be modified all that much to run on liquid hydrogen. They had to do like the injectors, cylinder heads, certainly a little bit of work with the intake, but not that much adjustment to run on liquid hydrogen. But that kind of brings me to my next major point. And this is the thing that we all really need to think about because as we mentioned with the Hydra, it was kind of two heads, right? We have the electric piece of it and then possibly the hydrogen piece of it. But I mean, you know, one of the big problems with even electric cars is the fact that there really aren't that many great places that have the superchargers or the infrastructure in place to get those vehicles fueled up. Most people simply go home and use the plug in their wall that they've had installed or whatever. Some people just have the trickle charge system, whatever it may be. But liquid hydrogen, you know, can you go to the local Murphy and buy liquid hydrogen? Like, you have to think about the infrastructure of something like this. And yeah, like cold fusion technology, you know, all that stuff where you take water and use it as fuel. I mean, very intriguing stuff. But I mean, is it viable at all to think about the infrastructure supporting something like this? I don't know. They've talked about the fact that Toyota and Yamaha have already come up with a similar concepts, so that's always interesting to think about. But, can we really embrace the technology where the infrastructure is just so far behind, you wouldn't want to buy one? So even if this is true, it would probably be pretty expensive. And is it something you'd want to buy, not being able to fuel the thing? So at the end of the day, I love the way that Dodge is thinking here. They're thinking, look, we really, really want to do something for our core, enthusiasts, our brand loyal folks out there that just love the internal combustion sound. There's so much that goes into a muscle car, so much soul that goes into it. Yeah, they won't be the fastest thing. Will they be able to compete with the EVs? Heck, they can't compete with them now in terms of speed. But in terms of, that fun to drive and just the sheer excitement of driving, the muscle car is just a very unique feeling vehicle. Dodge has not lost that concept. They're well aware of it. So the fact that they're trying to do something like this, or at least potentially trying to do something like this based on this article, I think is pretty darn cool. So is this in fact a April Fool's joke? Is there any truth to this at all? I honestly do not know. But I feel like this is going to be a viable thing to save the V8 as opposed to going straight to EVs. Probably not. And I hate to say that, but you always have to think, even if the technology is there, you still have to have the infrastructure to support that technology. How expensive is that technology going to be? Is it going to be prohibitively expensive? We already know that EVs are expensive, but they are coming down in price, and we're only scratching the surface on what those things can do. But I would love to see it if they could put it together, keep it reasonably priced, make it still sound good, and then meet the new EPA requirements that are coming down that really cause Dodge to sort of change and shift their whole their whole way of doing things, which is just kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. You either change or you become a dinosaur. Dodge realized that, so we'll see what they come up with. I guess we'll just stay tuned and see if any more comes down from these guys. Right now, I just don't see it as a viable thing. So even if this is true, will they come out with this? It may not move past concept. So we'll just wait and see, guys. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.